So we have the MacBook Air 15-inch for about a week now, and this is one heck of a laptop. The Apple M2 chip is amazing, the larger 15.3-inch display is gorgeous, and despite the frame being just 11.5mm thin, it's superb and robust in build quality. If you're looking for a bigger MacBook Air, this is basically it. Except, if you were to spec up the Air spec for spec against the Pro 14-inch, you're only saving just about $300 or 400 Singapore dollars. Are savings worth it? It depends on you. Do you prefer the Air or do you need the Pro? When it comes to the MacBook Air 15-inch, we don't really need to talk much about the design really. Essentially, take the MacBook Air 13-inch with M2 and upsize it. Seriously, that's it. It looks exactly the same as the smaller sibling and it's available in the same 4 gorgeous colors. As you can probably tell, we have the Starlight here, which isn't our favorite for sure, but it still looks stunning nonetheless. We really wish we got the opportunity to try out the Midnight, but perhaps another day it is. In any case, if you love the design of the Air 13-inch with the M2, you'll definitely love the design of the Air 15-inch also with M2. The only thing that you will really need to take into consideration would be the actual physical size of the larger chassis. While it might only weigh just about 1.5 kilograms or 3.3 pounds, it is still a 15-inch device, which means you have to lug around a bigger backpack should you be carrying this around daily. Now of course, you do still get the same great keyboard and touchpad which adorns every single MacBook in Apple's lineup, and we can only say that it performs absolutely stellar. While some Windows-based laptops do offer a slightly better typing experience, Apple has definitely hit a sweet spot with theirs. If we shift our focus to the touchpad, however, practically nothing in the Windows camp comes close. Apple is still king here. Now of course, there's still Touch ID for security and authentication, and it's probably second nature by this point in time for any current MacBook users. Now this is where we want to touch on something that's kind of hidden with the MacBook Air 15-inch, and we are talking about the speakers. Just like the rest of the Air lineup, Apple has chosen not to implement speaker grills into the chassis itself. But unlike the smaller Air 13-inch, this decision is really obvious right from the start, and it's probably something you'll take note of right away. Because the Air 15-inch retains the same exact keyboard as the Air 13-inch, the frame extends much wider on the sides, and it's just, well, empty. Some of you might prefer this look, some might not. For us, it was certainly weird at first, but we quickly got used to it. The more pressing question, however, is the fact that some of you might feel that the audio quality would be affected, seeing as there isn't any outlet for a sound to be projected properly, especially when compared to the Pros. All we can say is that, well, you needn't worry. Not at all, because the speakers on the Air 15-inch is on par with that of the Pro 14-inch, which makes this the second best sounding laptop in Apple's lineup. The Air 15-inch features a 6-speaker sound system which comprises 2 pairs of force-cancelling woofers and 2 tweeters. And in essence, Apple designed it in a way where it projects all that sound out the vents near the hinge, and that reflects off the display back to your ears. It even supports spatial audio and Dolby Atmos for added depth and immersion. In actual practice, well, it all sounds really awesome, and you might even be taken aback at first listen. Listening to tunes while working on this script was plenty enjoyable, and it can get loud enough to fill a small room and let you enjoy your content in all its glory. To keep it very simple, you can choose not to put on your favorite pair of cans. You don't need to. It's simply great. Which ties us into the biggest reason as to why you might even consider the Air 15-inch. So let's talk about display. Lift up the lid and you'll be greeted with a 15.3-inch liquid retina display that sports a resolution of 2880 by 1864. This very display will also be capable of up to 500 nits of brightness, support P3 color, and offers True Tone support. To keep it really short, this display is downright fantastic and it will be plenty enjoyable for anything ranging from browsing, content consumption, and even content creation. For starters, the 15.3-inch size is a really nice upgrade over the 13.4-inch, and it's a nice balance between the Pro 14-inch and the Pro 16-inch. It hits that sweet middle spot, We use the Air 15-inch pretty much constantly over the weekend, and we're glad to say that it performs admirably well. The notch is also here to stay with this larger Air, and it really doesn't bother us all that much by this point in time. It's there, but it's out of the way, and the 1080p FaceTime HD camera is just good. However, the overall visual experience is far from perfect, and that reason actually has nothing to do with the actual panel itself, but more so on the price. But first, let's talk about the performance of M2 and kind of Apple's decision to retain the fenders design even with the larger chassis. In our opinion, it performs great, no qualms about it. With how Apple designed the Air and what it's intended to be used for, the M2 chip is more than capable of handling all those tasks. Multiple tabs open in Safari or Chrome, playback of high quality video and audio, being able to get through an entire workday with multiple applications open without breaking a sweat, you name it. Even when we talk about content creation, M2 can still very much handle simple 4K edits. Overall, we are pleased with the performance and we don't really expect much more. More is great, but it's not needed here. Which leads us to our next point. You can experience the MacBook Air 15-inch with M2 and pretty much everything it offers from a great starting price of just about $1,300 US or 1,900 Singapore dollars. However, for that, you only get 8GB of unified memory and 256GB of SSD storage. If we were to spec it up to our own recommendations when considering buying a new MacBook, we would highly suggest upping the memory to 16GB and storage to 512GB. But now, you are looking at a price closer to $1,700 US or 2,500 Singapore dollars. Do you know what else is very similar in terms of that price? The baseline MacBook Pro 14-inch with M2 Pro. With the same 16GB of unified memory and 512GB of SSD storage, that will set you back roughly $2,000 US or 2,900 Singapore dollars. Now you might argue that it is still a substantial difference and $300 to $400 is no small amount. But let's break it down and we'll explain why the difference in price don't really amount to much here. With the Pro 14-inch, not only are you getting a more powerful M2 Pro chip, you're also getting way more ports and perhaps best of all, that 14.2-inch Liquid Retina XDR display with a much higher resolution and support for TrueMotion. That display alone warrants the upgrade in our opinion. But with all that being said, we did also mention that you don't really need all that much with the Air, especially for what it is. So here's our 2 cents as to which you should veer towards should you be considering between the two. If you know that you're more of a power user, even if just slightly, forget that additional $300 to $400 and go with the Pro 14-inch. Now sure, you might be getting slightly less battery life, but that ProMotion display is a huge game changer. And not to mention, you get more ports. And you get M2 Pro, and it doesn't even weigh that much more at 1.6 kilograms or about 3.5 pounds. But if you're a light user and you love everything about the Air 13-inch with M2, but you just want a bigger display, go with the Air 15-inch with M2 because it is essentially that. While $300 to $400 might not be a whole lot when you compare the feature set to feature set, it is still $300 to $400, which is going to mean a whole lot to many of you out there who are tight on a budget, but would still very much like the best that Apple can offer. At the very least, we are glad that there is an option to consider, and for all of you who have been waiting for a larger MacBook Air, well, here it is. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below and be sure to take a look at it. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to us for more of such content, and keep up with all our other social channels for the latest news and updates. And we'll catch you in the next one. See ya!